No, thank you very much, House Chair, President Ramaphosa, Deputy President Mashatile, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans. I think the most consequential moment of our debate is when the leader of an organization that occupies the far right of the ideological spectrum of the political parties represented here in Parliament makes the following acknowledgement: that the Freedom Charter is indeed the seminal document that should guide the South Africa we want. And he goes further to make the point that it could be a foundational basis of our discussion in the mooted national dialogue. I want to further also acknowledge the most compelling and cogent explication of the achievements of the ANC as articulated by Honorable Dr. Hlophe, especially on key matrices in relation to social indicators. But he goes further to attempt to decouple the victories and the achievements of the ANC between the period 2009 to 2019 and apportion the victories to any individuals and the setback to an organization. I think this at best is a misrepresentation and at worst is duplicitous. And I want to say to Honorable Malema, in his predictable quest to discredit the SONA, he uses the NDP and the MTDP interchangeably. They are indeed interrelated but distinct. They are distinct in the following sense. The NDP's Vision 2030 has a long-time horizon. It is also outcomes-based, and it's also aspirational. The MTDP, on the other side, has got a 3-year cycle that is output-based, and it also attracts significant resources, and also has got clear timelines and also clear targets, and embedded in that, it is an overarching framework for monitoring and evaluation. So essentially what the Honorable Malema has done is to commit the cardinal sin from a conceptual outlook point of view. And I want to say the following to Honorable Trollip. When he described the SONA as delusional, Honorable Ndlela makes the point that indeed this is a failed state. Honorable Mautwe makes the point that these are hollow promises. I want to counsel the House that for us to have a decent and matured conversation, familiarity with the facts is a minimum requirement. And I want to repudiate this statement by saying the following. So first is that the SONA itself admits that there are significant shortcomings. It makes the point that we have a growth problem, and it also makes the point that the fact that 28 million people receive social grant out of a total population of 62 million, and the expanded unemployment is sitting at 43%, is an exceptional indictment on a sitting government. And then it does posit that we are putting forward a growth of 3% as our level of ambition. And that is driven by the facts as the Bureau of Economic Research from Stellenbosch has articulated or formulated a model. An economic model is a simplification of the economy that is meant to explain economic behavior. And it's made of a set of variables and a set of quantitative terms that essentially speak to each other and are interdependent. And it makes the point that if we're to continue on the path of the OV, we are likely going to achieve GDP growth of anything between 3.5% and 5%. But it will be a height of folly for President Ramaphosa to stand before the country and promise a 5% economic growth by the end of the term. Why is that the case? Because the reality is the following. Between the years 2005 and 2011, average GDP was 3.4%. 2012 to 2019, 1.9%. 2019 to 2023, 0.3%. As I stand before you, the projection is that it's likely going to be 0.8%, and over the medium term is going to be 1.9%. So you can't put forward an ambition that we know it's highly improbable that we are going to achieve. But you must also determine the floor. What is that floor? We accept that the economic growth must outpace the rate of population growth. And anything less than the rate of population growth understates what essentially are the requirements. And hence we arrive at a 3% ambition over the period of the term. And then we propose the following interventions. The first one is that the NDP suggests that the levels of gross fixed capital formation, which is a proxy for investment, should be at 30% of GDP. As I stand before you, that number is sitting at 14.9%. And 70% of that is private sector, 18% of that is public sector, and then the remainder is the SOE. So we need to accelerate that investment. For us to achieve those targets, it must grow by 2.1, we must invest 2.1 trillion rands per annum to achieve that target. And that's why the 940 billion that the president refers to is just a fiscal injection. You need to design bespoke financing instrument that will tap into the liquidity of the private sector and ensure that you provide the sufficient guardrails to protect the investments of the private sector. And hence we talk about innovative financing instrument to drive this agenda. And we are going to classify infrastructure as an asset class so that we are able to crowd in private sector investment. I want to say to Honorable McPherson that it appears that your relationship with the truth is that of hostility and antagonism. So the agenda of the Infrastructure South Africa, the investment book was generated during the 6th administration. I think the decent thing that you can say is that you want to accelerate the pace of implementation. And then the third area of intervention is around water. So we accept that there are commercial elements in water investments and then there are social elements. You just need to look at the interventions we made working with the private sector, the Lebalelo Water Users Association, the Valga Magara, a combination of private sector and public sector investment, and we're able to roll out this investment. On the electricity front, we make the point that the state sovereign balance sheet is weak, the ESCOM balance sheet has been eroded. We need to design instruments that helps us to ensure that there's accelerated private sector investment. We need to modernize and grow the transmission by over 14,000 kilometers in the next 10 years. We need about 450 billion rands. We have designed an instrument, President. We'll be introducing that instrument to the country in the next 5 weeks, and we're going to use that instrument as a template. We'll take it to Transnet, we'll take it to all SOEs so that we are able to drive this infrastructure going forward. On the freight logistics side, we've got a baseline of 149 million tons per annum. Our target for the year is 170 million tons. And by 2030, we want to reach 250 million tons. We have decided that we must prioritize specific corridor. The Northern Cape Saldanha corridor, which carries iron ore and manganese. The Northern corridor, which carries coal and chrome. The Gauteng-Durban corridor, which carries automotive and general freight. And then we say we need to make an investment in relation to the capacity of local government. Ring fence both the electricity and water functions of municipalities. President, I'm happy to announce to you that we have already started in Limpopo, as Premier Ramathuba has indicated. We are starting with Maruleng, we are doing Tabazimbi, we are doing Molemole, we are doing a number of municipalities in the Free State, we are in Malutia Pufong, we are moving into Ditsobotla in the northwest, we are in Gauteng, in Mfuleni. So we have started with this work of ensuring that we are able to design instruments that are able to drive this agenda going forward. I want to make this point in relation to what I refer to as the ultra-right lunatic fringe in this country that seeks to undermine the transformation project. So they use expropriation as a scarecrow. It's a smokescreen. Their fundamental grievance is the scale and pace of the transformation project. They've been forum shopping, and now they've found an ally. They are detonating the nuclear options to ensure that they undermine the economy of this country so that there's a groundswell of social discontent that will unseat this government. I want to say that we are determined to protect the gains of the democratic project. We will go explain ourselves to the allies and articulate the vision of a South Africa that we want, that the transformation project is indeed irreversible. We are on the correct path, Comrade President. We will not be bullied. Thank you very much.